Let us state the law plainly, so there is no bargaining left in us. When effort stops, grace appears. Not later, not when you have earned it by a quota of prayers, but in the instant the self-driven motion ceases. In that very ceasing, the current is felt. Be still and know that I am God. Do you see the order? Be still first, then know. The law is not mystical in the sense of vague. It is mystical in the sense of exact. It can be tested. Stop, then watch. Not for the outer picture to hurry itself into your preferred arrangement, but for the inner assurance that needs no permission, no witness, no applause. Now, because language is slippery, let us say what effort is in this work so you can catch it in the act and lay it down. Effort is the mind straining to produce a result. Effort is the little clock inside that keeps looking at the fruit tree and asking, why aren't you ripe yet? Effort is taking sides with your desire and against the appearance, and trying to push God onto your side as if God were a usable power. Effort is praying to get health, supply, safety, advantage, a victory with words dressed in Scripture, while the heart is bargaining, who by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature? Not one. You see, so effort includes taking thought, it includes watching the outcome day by day, it includes entering the case humanly with advice and arguments and favorite techniques, it includes the hidden fear that presses you to do something, anything, but be still. And grace? Grace is the appearing of harmony without your managing it, without your will arranging the furniture of the world. Grace is the spontaneous leveling of waves when you cease shouting at the sea. It is the not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. And let us be fearless enough to say it straight. God is not a power to be deployed. God is not mind, not even soul. Nobody knows what God is. If you think you know, you have a concept, and a concept cannot heal, but the living God, remaining unnameable, appears as harmony when we withdraw the hand that would use it. All right? Then our work is not to move God, but to stop moving, not to bend events, but to refuse the impulse to bend them, not to fight a bad side with a good side, but to align with principle and let principle reveal itself as sufficiency. Do not react to the appearances. Never desire to change appearances. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Do you hear the discipline in that? Stand still. See. Not fix. Not rush. Not cheer for a team. Faith is measured here at the threshold. This is our foundation by the absence of reaction. If the mind cannot keep its fingers off the dial, if the lips must explain and persuade and plead, there is still worship of two powers. But we will come to that. For the moment, receive the law as an operational fact. As effort diminishes, grace enters. When effort ceases, grace appears. We are not going to believe this because I say it. We are going to prove it because truth insists on being proved. During this very session, we will stop together. No affirmations, no denials, no spiritual calisthenics, simply the interior closing of the shop, the fasting of thought, the prayer that does not speak. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Fasting from what? From managing, from sides, from the itch to see results. In those pauses, do not listen for words. Do not seek a sign. Just notice the subtle click, the unpurchased ease, the gentleness that has no reason. That is grace-making, its own announcement. So set your stance now. Refuse reaction. Refuse to enter the case as a person with preferences. Refuse to help God. That is the most loving refusal you will ever practice. Our part is to stop. God's part, if we must use that language, is to be God, which is beyond our thought and yet nearer than breath. And as we honor this law without compromise, you will find that assurance begins to spill quietly over the edges of every circumstance, and you will know, not by explanation, but by presence, that grace has appeared. Back to the subject of reaction, because if we miss it here, we will spend our days polishing words and never touching God. Faith is not a sentiment, not a mood, not an optimism about tomorrow. Faith, the degree of faith, is shown by your reaction, you see. When the diagnosis arrives, the harsh name, the schedule for tests, watch yourself. Do you fear it? Do you love it as a drama? Do you hate it as an enemy? Or do you stand in the middle path and neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance? When the bill comes overdue and the figure seems to sneer, when the criticism lands sharp and just a little true so that the ego wants to spring to its feet and explain what then? In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. That is scripture, and it is diagnostic. If there is a leap to defend, to control, to arrange, we are worshiping two powers. If there is a soft non-response, a refusal to grant power to the picture, that is faith in action. Now, don't misunderstand. Non-reaction is not repression, it is recognition. We are not swallowing feelings to be stoic. We are recognizing that appearances are not powers, that there is only one power, and even that word power is too human for God. All right? So how do we know our faith? We know it by our stillness at the instant of provocation, not later, after we have had our say and need to apologize. Now, the Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Do you hear the order? Hold your peace. Let the Lord principle have its way. Jesus stood before accusation and answered nothing. That silence was not weakness. It was authority. It was the proof that identity is not on trial. Make a practice of this as a daily metric. Every time the phone pings with a demand, measure the space between the ping and your inward click into stillness. Every time a relative prods an old sore, measure the space between the prod and your refusal to defend. Every time the mirror or the ledger or the news tries to enroll you in alarm, measure the space between the alarm and your settling in the middle path. That space, that non-reaction, is both the way and the witness. It is the method by which realization comes and the proof that it has begun. Let not your heart be troubled. How? By not reacting, by not granting a second power the dignity of your emotion. Train yourself to sit down inside while standing up outside. Refuse to enter the case humanly. No speeches, no sides, no clever corrections. Sit in the center where nothing is for or against, and let the spirit bear witness of itself. When you find that you can face the diagnosis without flinching the bill, without bargaining, the criticism without counterattack, you will know not by argument, but by the hush that fills the room that faith has moved from your lips to your life. And from that hush, grace appears in its own way, on its own timing. Now, let us face the place where most of us fail the test and think we are being righteous. Conflicts. The temptation is always to choose a flag, to rally behind a name or a grievance, to make a case and then try to bring God in as reinforcements. Don't do it. Effectiveness in this work flows only from allegiance to principle, never to personalities, never to outcomes. Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Do you hear that? Righteous judgment is not siding with the right person. It is standing with the impersonal right that is God, which cannot be used, cannot be aimed, cannot be drafted into a cause. Christ is the only identity. When you forget that, you begin to love and hate, to fear and to favor. And at that instant, you are out of the middle path where grace appears. Never enter the case humanly. Never desire to change appearances. Never even support the side that hires you. If the one that engages you wants to lose, That is his business. Your business is to be still and let spiritual activity appear. That is all. The wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. All our indignation, our clever arguments, our sympathy with a supposed victim, none of it ever opened the way to harmony. Put up thy sword into the sheath. We put up the sword of words, the sword of psychology, the sword of choosing sides. And in that stillness we remember there is only one life here, one selfhood, one mind, and it is not ours to wield. Let me show you how this looks. A labor dispute. Management on one side with contracts and projections, labor on the other with hours and dignity. The phone rings, come help. Now, if you come to favor capital or labor, you have no help to give. If you arrive with statistics and advice, you have already abandoned your office as a witness to Christ. Instead, you close the door of thought. You agree with thine adversary quickly. In other words, you do not resist the appearance. You let it be as picture, and you refuse to fear, love, or hate it. You sit until the sense of two sides softens, until you can feel, not think. One is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. In that atmosphere, meetings unfold without the old temperature. A provision nobody had considered appears, or, yes, a contract dissolves, and a better form is born a week later. Who won? Nobody. Principle appeared, and that is the only victory we are authorized to know. A marital impasse. She wants one thing, he another. History sits in the room like a third parent. Now do not counsel, do not teach, one to be nicer, cleverer, more persuasive. Don't even pray for the marriage to be saved. That is a side. That is a result. And we are not result workers. We are witnesses. We go into the inner room where the Father which seeth in secret is, and we stand there without speech. We refuse to make a person the problem. We see universal belief, fear of lack, fear of loneliness, pride in its religious clothes parading as two individuals, and we let it have no law. Then, without our hand, a softening happens, or a boundary appears that had never been honored, or, yes, a clean separation occurs that frees both to find spiritual rightness. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. Is not about papers, it is about the joining in God. If it is not in God, let man not glue it humanly. You see the difference? An artist's block. The canvas stares. The commission presses. The critics' voices rehearse their lines in the head. Now, if you cheer for the artist or despise the critics, you have already entered the theater of two powers. You will give pep talks, and nothing living will flow. Instead, we let the identity artist fall away, and we hold to Christ as the only identity. I can of mine own self do nothing, and in that nothing, inspiration, which is not personal property, begins to move. The commission may cancel, and another opportunity, purer and freer, arrives. The hand becomes light, and the work breathes, or the entire field drops away, and a truer vocation shows its face. Not even the side that hires you, you see. Your only interest is that spiritual activity appear. This is hard only to the part of us that worships outcomes. But listen to Scripture. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. We do not overcome by pushing. We overcome by refusing to live in the arena of winning and losing. Our task is to clear the stage of our opinions so that the one actor can appear, not by might, not by power, not by picking sides, but by spirit. Hold yourself to this. No sides only principle. Stand there and let God have its perfect work. Now we come to the core of our practice, and it will disappoint the part of you that likes to think beautifully about God. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. Nobody. Conceptual truth, as lovely as it may sound when we say it, cannot substitute for contact. It can point, it can steady the nerves, it can keep you from sprinting off to work a human side, but it cannot touch the hem of the garment. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door. Do you hear the order? Enter, shut. Not speak first, shut. There must come, if there is to be any transformation, a split second of silence in which we forget all the truth we ever knew, not because the truth is false, but because God is not a concept to be handled. In that split second, without ornament, without scripture even, there is contact. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting. Fasting from what? From statements, from spiritual technique, from trying to feel holy, fasting from reaching for God with words. We withdraw the hand that would polish the mind with affirmations, and we wait for the inner click. That is all. It may be the barest softening in the chest. It may be a sudden quiet as if the room exhaled. It may be nothing sensible at all except a release from managing. That click is not an emotion. It is not a sign to be interpreted. It is the door unlatching of its own accord. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Mate, let the earth of your thoughts keep silence. Then, if there is to be prayer, let Christ pray in you, not you praying at God. All right? How do you do this? You stop. You take the posture you are in, standing at the sink, sitting in the car, lying awake at 2 a.m, and you close the inner mouth. You do not begin, God is love, God is life, God is... No. Forget all the truth we ever knew and be still in Christ. If a verse comes, you let it pass through like a bird across a field. You don't build a cage of commentary. If a need presses, you do not name it. You let it be as fog at the window, and you refuse to wipe the glass. You abide in the uncluttered instant until the click presents itself. The Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. Let that be literal in you. Let the unutterable do its own praying. Do not try to make the click happen. Do not time it with a watch. Do not pan for it like gold. Any of that is effort, and effort is the dam across the stream. Our part is to offer vacancy, to withdraw even our finest religious furniture and leave an empty room, and in that emptiness, presence announces itself by being itself. Sometimes the click is followed by a word peace, or by a phrase, be not afraid, it is I. Sometimes there is nothing afterward but an ease that does not care to argue. That is enough. In that ease, grace has the channel to appear when and as it will. You will find the mind accusing you. You are wasting time. You should be declaring truth. You should be doing something. Answer it with silence, not with a better thought silence. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing follows the stillness, not the other way around. Let the prayer be Christ in you, not I, but Christ liveth in me. Let the will to achieve spiritual results be fasted out of you. Remember, we are not result workers. We are witnesses to a life that needs no prompting and no defense. Practice this split second many times a day, no drama, no schedule, just frequent, faithful withdrawings. You will learn the feel of the door and the sound of its latch. And when the waves rise, when accusation comes, or lack, or pain, you will not run to words as to a shield. You will stand, keep silence, and the one who commanded peace be still will speak to the storm where it is, in the thinking that wanted to help God. Then you will watch, as from a quiet shore, grace appearing by its own law, on its own timing, with no fingerprints on the work. You see, that is prayer and fasting. That is the click. Now let us look at the simple mechanics of why striving blocks grace. Striving is the motion of a mind that believes in two powers and is trying to move one against the other. Good against evil, health against disease, abundance against lack, your prayer against the problem. The very tension of that inner tug is the obstruction. It is the kink in the hose. It is the clenched fist that cannot receive, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Do you see the contrast? Might and power are your pushing. Spirit is the effortless flow that appears when there is nothing to push against. Here is the shock. God is not power. Don't turn to God for anything. Stop trying to use God. As long as you are using God to get, you are still in two-power thinking, still in the market bargaining my prayer for your result, still in the subtle resistance that says, I will not let this be. I will make it be otherwise. That is opposition. And opposition is the dam across the stream. Take no thought for your life is not poetry. It is instruction to drop the inner lever that keeps adjusting dials. Every watchful glance at the outcome, every compulsion to affirm one more time in case God didn't hear, tightens the knot. You are measuring the plant every hour, and the roots cannot rest. Let patience have her perfect work. Let God have its perfect work. You cannot hasten ripening by staring at the fruit. All right, then what? Surrender is not collapse, it is release. It is the relaxing of grasp so the waters can move. It is putting up the sword that can only hack at shadows. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still first, the seeing follows. When you feel the inner urge to fix, to press a statement, to demand a sign, to rush to one more technique, recognize it as resistance cloaked in piety. Refuse it. Return to the middle where nothing is for or against. In that refusal, there is no more enemy, no more ally, nothing to resist, and therefore nothing to support the obstruction. The dam breaks not by effort, but by the absence of it. Listen, the spirit needs no assistance, only absence of interference. When you stop using God, God is free to be God. When you stop campaigning for an outcome, the atmosphere clears, and harmony, unargued, unfought, appears of itself. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it. Hold your peace. Striving is resistance. Surrender removes the obstruction to grace. Now let us remove the person from the case, because until we do that, we are still playing in the arena of blame and defense, and there is no grace in that ring. This has nothing to do with this person. This is a universal belief presenting as a person, a condition, a set of circumstances. You see, the moment you make a man, a woman, a corporation, a germ, a weather front responsible, you have two powers, one to fear and one to favor, and your reaction will prove it. But when you see the claim as impersonal suggestion with no law to support it, the air thins, the weight drops. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, says Scripture, but against principalities, against powers, that is, against the suggestion of law where no divine law exists, and if no divine law backs it, it has no authority, no continuity, no cause. That recognition is the beginning of non-reaction. Take the pet examples that bully the mind. Contagion drafts the season. Infection and contagion have no law to support them in God, none. A draft across the neck cannot enter a universe governed by principle and become a cause of sickness. That is superstition dressed in science's coat one century and in grandmother's shawl the next. No plague shall come nigh thy dwelling is not a promise to the careful. It is a statement of law to the one who refuses a second power. There is one presence, one life, one activity. And if we must say it in the old words, one power only. So when the report says it's going around and the body twinges and the nerves want to prepare their defense, do not fight, depersonalize. This is a universal belief, not a law. It has no authority in God. Then be still, not 10 denials, not a lecture to the atmosphere, just the recognition followed by silence until the click. Extend it further. The economy is down, so says the chant, and therefore your supply must constrict. Aging advances, so says the chant, and therefore function must fail. Family history writes its little myths. Everyone in our line has weak joints, thin blood, fragile moods, and therefore you must bow to the genealogy. All of it is one thing, universal belief, claiming law, and we do not hate it, fear it, or love it. We do not argue with it or try to padlock it with statements. We expose it as impersonal. We withdraw personal identification, and we leave it lawless. Call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Do you see? That breaks the seeming law of heredity at its root. Practice with me, and let it be simple. Right now, I nullify any seeming effect from a universal belief, one power only. Say it once inside, not as a charm, but as a pointer, and then stop, hold your peace, let the recognition do its work. We are not cursing a germ, not rebuking a season, not shaming a relative or a government. We are refusing to give personality to a lie. In that refusal, compassion rises of itself. Without a guilty party to punish or a victim to pity, the heart becomes gentle. Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, Jesus said of the blind man, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. There is the depersonalization that heals. There is the end of reaction. You will notice how quickly the heat leaves a room when you remove a culprit. A child coughs, and instead of pouncing, who brought this home? Who wasn't careful? You stand in the middle. Universal belief, no law. The house softens. Fear loses its script. Tenderness, not technique, governs the next hour. Or a colleague slanders you, and rather than sharpen your speech, you see suggestion of rivalry, of scarcity universal, not personal. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, is not piety, it is precise metaphysics. They know not because no one knows, there is no knower of a lie. You cannot keep anger alive once you see there is no actor, only a mask called belief. Reaction subsides because there is nothing to push against. Do not make this complicated. You are not required to map the belief, name its roots, trace its historical patterns. You are required to refuse its person and deny it a law. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, because no law of God forges it. In the moment of provocation, say within, this has nothing to do with this person, this is a universal belief without law, then wait for the split-second click. From that click, answers appear or silence remains, and either way, grace has a clear channel. Remember, our work is not to fix people. Our work is to stand where there are no people, no powers, only principle. Stand there, and compassion, not effort, will do what compassion always does. It will reveal harmony and dissolve the fiction of blame. All right? Let us prove rather than discuss. We will stop together only 2 minutes, not enough time for the mind to build a temple to itself. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, enter, shut, sit as you are. No arranging of posture to feel holy. Close the inner mouth. No statements, not even the finest truth. Let the words be still and know that I am God. Hover like weather far off. But here, now, merely be still. Take the case that has been pummeling you, the name, the number, the face, and as if you were gently ushering guests to the porch, let each one step outside, the person, the cause, the feared effect, the hoped-for improvement, withdraw your hand from all of it. Silently acknowledge once, and once only, I can of mine own self do nothing, and then do nothing. Hold your peace. Yes, that's the instruction. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Let breath find its own rhythm. Do not sponsor it. If a verse floats up, do not clutch it. Let it pass like a bird across a field. If a worry reaches to shake your shoulder, do not argue. Let it find no handle. We are not emptying to get filled with a result. We are emptying because silence is obedience, and obedience is our sanctuary. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. So be quiet inside, and let confidence come only if it wishes, uninvited. Now attend, not with ears that strain, but as one who sits by a door already unlocked. There will come, and it may be no more dramatic than a leaf settling, an almost imperceptible softening, the click. Do not name it, do not celebrate it, do not run to work with it. Stop there. Even before you glance at the outer picture to see if anything has budged, stop, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still first. See, after the click is not a feeling you can parade. It is the relinquishment that allows grace to announce itself without interpreter. If thought tries to resume its office, now we can declare, now we can plan. Put up the sword, put up thy sword into the sheath. Return to the hush that opened of its own accord. Let the 2 minutes end without any ceremony, without a last good word to make sure God understands. The point is not a polished ending. The point is the honest stopping that gave space for presence to be presence without your management. Do you notice what has arrived uncaused? Not a change, perhaps, not a strategy, but a small, reasonless assurance, as if the floor under your feet knew its work and you could let the muscles unclench. That hush is the evidence. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The substance is not in the diagnosis, nor in the balance sheet, nor in the timeline you prefer. It is in this unargued ease that neither chases nor resists the picture. You did not earn it. You did not think it up. It came when effort ceased. That is grace announcing itself within. Keep your eyes off the clock of outcomes. Do not check your messages to see if the world saluted your silence. Do not test your pulse for proof. Let the assurance be enough, because it is enough. In this 2-minute stop, you have practiced leaving persons, sides, and results. You have stood where there are no powers to compare, only principle to reveal, and it has revealed quietly as peace. Hold to that. Be not afraid, it is I. Let that be the only sentence that lingers, not on your tongue, but as presence in your middle. We will build a rhythm of these stops. For now, take the relief as permission to do the simplest thing this work ever asks. Keep still and hold your peace. You ask what appears when we stop. Let me tell you what we have witnessed when we obeyed the simple law, and not once with a flourish of power, but always with presence realized. One night a call came from Los Angeles, a hospital corridor, the family emptied of words, the chart already closed, pronounced. I did not rush in with statements. I did not try to use God. I sat in the chair they offered and shut the inner door. No prayer as asking, no petitioning for return, only the hush until the click. I am the resurrection and the life. Not said, but known without speech. After some minutes, and they were only minutes, there came the barest motion at the throat, then a breath, and the room remembered itself. The nurse who had just shaken her head put her hand to her mouth. We had not driven back a power. We had not out-argued death. We had withdrawn effort, and grace, which needs no adversary, appeared. Do you see the difference? Where the living gather in conflict, the same law holds. In Los Angeles, a bitter neighborhood dispute was marching toward lawsuits, parking, zoning, a church bell that would not be quiet. Those who asked for help wanted me to line up with their grievance. I refused. I took no side. I entered no case humanly. We closed our mouths and kept silence until the inner air cleared. The next week, tempers fell through the floor. The very man who had been swearing to drag his neighbor into court brought a pie and a paper and said, "All right, tell me what you need." Nobody won. Principle appeared, and there was room for neighborliness again. On Maui, during a season when the island was hot with petitions and meetings and the old names, tourist, local, were being used as weapons, we kept silence in our little room, and we would not answer. "Which side are you on?" There came a rain the day of the vote, a simple soaking rain. Attendance thinned. The heat went out of the speeches, and an interim provision, fairer than either side had written, was adopted without theatrics, not by might nor by power. The wrath of man did not work a solution. Quiet did. And letters have come, you see, the sweet confirmations that keep us honest. A student in Ohio wrote, "I released the account. I said once within, 'Your grace is sufficient,' and then I stopped. I did not ask. I did not watch the mailbox." 2 days later, a contractor I had forgotten settled an old invoice to the penny, another from Sydney. After months of praying for my brother to come home, I heard you say, "Don't pray to change him." So I let him go in God. I fasted from words. That afternoon he called, and we spoke as if the rope had never frayed. No technique, no bargaining. "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." The seeking was silence. The adding came of itself. We do not make a method of this. We dare not. The moment silence becomes a lever, it is no longer silence. We are not result workers. We are witnesses. Again and again, ceasing effort precedes the appearing of grace. That is the order. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it. Never enter the case humanly. Never desire to change appearances. Stand where there are no sides, no persons to fix, no power to use, and wait for the click. Then watch without hurry, without checking the clock, while harmony, unargued, unforced, shows itself on its own schedule. Let patience have her perfect work. Now comes the mercy that saves us from hurry, timing. Let us learn from the orchard, for the orchard has no sermons, only law. Fruit trees ripen silently. No farmer stands at midnight whispering to the pear. Now, no hand tugs at the fig to make it sweet by wishing. The kingdom of God is as if a man should cast seed into the ground, and should sleep and rise night and day, and the earth bringeth forth fruit of herself, first the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. Do you hear the sanity in that? Of herself, without our watchfulness, without our labor of nerves. We do our part, plant, tend, refrain from trampling, and then we let maturity bring to light. We do not pry open buds. We do not schedule the blush on an apple. Consider Saul of Tarsus, newly met by the light, fiery, yes, but not yet seasoned. And what then? Not a tour with pamphlets and schedules, but years, some 9 by the telling before he went out in the breath of his ministry. He maketh all things beautiful in his time. Not in your campaign, not by daily inspection of your holiness. You do not think for a minute that Paul's ripening could be measured day by day, do you? No, it was ripening underneath roots, deepening, opinions dissolving, the hard edges softened by a presence that will not be rushed. So why would you judge your demonstration day by day? Why would you bruise the tender with your checking? Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature, or persuade a peach to sweeten Tuesday instead of Thursday? Leave the clock alone. All right, Then what is our office while the earth brings forth of herself the same it has always been, sustained non-reaction and quiet contact? Keep your hands off the outcome. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it. We are not result workers. We are witnesses. Our work is to enter the inner closet and shut the door, to abide in the split-second click when thought ceases reaching, and to remain there without bargaining. Results belong to God. By their fruits ye shall know them, not by your forecasts, not by your daily report cards on spirit. The fruit will show when it is fruit, not when you announce it is on its way. Do not dig up the seed to see if it remembered the lesson. Do not test your pulse of peace every hour to prove you have it. Let silence do its agriculture. And in this there is relief, a dear uncoiling in the soul, because the calendar is the last tyrant of the anxious. Lay it down. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth, and hath long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Let there be early rain and latter rain in you. Let there be nights without inspection, mornings without an audit of progress. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Waiting is not idleness. Waiting is governance, accepted divine governance received in place of our project plans. He giveth his beloved sleep, and in that sleep the seed swells and splits and rises without a word from us. Practice this with the same simplicity we have used in every other part of the work. When you feel the itch to check, has anything happened yet? Fast from clocks. When you reach to declare one last truth to push the bud, put up the sword. Never enter the case humanly, never desire to change appearances, never time God. Return to the quiet click. Leave persons, sides, and timetables on the porch and sit with the one who needs no reminder. Some forms will appear sooner than you prefer, some later. Some forms will never appear because a riper form is making its slow, sure way to the surface. Do not argue. Let maturity bring to light. Let God have its perfect work. Hear the promise and let it ease you. In due season we shall reap if we faint not. Not in your season, in due season. A man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. Let direction be God's, let steps be God's, let seasons be God's. Your part is the middle path, neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Hold your peace, keep the closet door shut until the click returns. Then go about your day without peeking at the tree. When the fruit colors, you will know. And you will know not because you hurried it into sweetness, but because grace, spontaneous harmony has ripened on its own schedule while you rested in stillness. You see, that is timing. That is ripening. That is the gentle law that frees us from watchfulness and returns us to trust. Now there is a harder edge to this quiet, and we must be honest enough to take it. If you are not willing to leave mother, brother, sister, father, for my sake, you will cling to appearances, and grace will have no room to separate what must be separated. Do you see? The Christ identity is not a son or a daughter in the human registry. Who is my mother and who are my brethren? Whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven. That is not coldness, that is alignment. When loyalty to a bond outruns loyalty to principle, the channel is clogged with sentiment and fear. And sometimes hear it gently, but hear it sometimes separation is the spiritual event. Let's have it, if that is what brings harmony. We do not engineer it. We do not desire it. We do not gloat over it. We simply refuse to preserve a form that blocks the flow of spirit. In the house where strife has been our liturgy, we do not pray to make two human wills behave. We stand where there is one will only, and let the forms arrange as they must. If the marriage must rest apart to cease its warfare, let it rest. If the partnership must dissolve so that honesty can breathe, let it dissolve. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. A man's foes shall be they of his own household, not because Christ brings feud, but because truth severs our clinging to forms that suffocate life. Our task is non-reaction at the edge of severance, no pleading with God to keep what grace would release, no campaigning for a picture we have called sacred. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still there, even when the phone goes quiet and the table has one chair. The same rule governs our work in the world. Do not take sides, not even the side that hires you. If the one who engaged you wants to lose, that is his business. Refuse outcome ownership. You are not there to secure victory for a personality. You are there to be a transparency for principle. If you bend your silence to preserve a client, a budget, a reputation, you have bartered your peace for a wage and lost the only agency you ever had. No man can serve two masters. Serve principle only. Let the contract end if it must. Let the role change if it will. Hold your peace and keep the channel clean. All right, how shall we walk this without hardness, with tenderness that does not compromise? We bless, we release, we take no trophies from the parting. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit, and we commend theirs likewise, without managing their path. Never enter the case humanly. Never desire to change appearances. Preserve the hush, and you will feel it. A lightning in the chest at the very brink where you thought drowning was certain. Detachment is not abandonment. It is fidelity to the only life that knows its own ways. When ties and results no longer pull at the sleeve, grace, spontaneous harmony finds a clean, unresisted opening and appears on its own timing. Hold there, keep silence. Let separation, when it is of God, be the midwife of peace. Now we will practice in the heat, not in theory. Choose a pressure that is presently on your table, the email with its sharp subject line, the bank notice with its neat, cold arithmetic, the ache that just flared under your rib. Do not push it away and do not grip it. Hold it gently before you as you would hold a frightened bird. No squeezing, no shooing. All right. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, enter now, shut now. How? Pause, let the hands be still, let the eyes rest. Take no side. Refuse at once to be for or against the appearance, to defend yourself or to condemn another, to pray for a fix or to prophesy a fall. Middle path. Neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance. Next, depersonalize. Say within once and only once, this has nothing to do with this person, this body, this account. This is a universal belief-claiming law where God has given none. Quietly nullify its seeming statute. Right now, I nullify any supposed effect of a universal belief. One power only. Not as a charm, not as a contest, but as recognition. Then put up the sword. Be still and know that I am God. Do not add a sentence to make it work. Do not reach for your favorite truth to help it along. For the next 30 to 60 seconds, do nothing humanly. Let thought stand aside. Let breath be ungoverned. Let the room be what it is without your commentary. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting, and the fasting here is from words and from the will to manage. Hold, if a feeling asks to be noticed, do not sign for the package. If a verse floats near, do not grasp it. Let it be weather moving across an open sky. You are not trying to produce peace. you are consenting to the presence that is peace. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it. In that holding, a small click may come, no trumpet, only the soft unhooking of tension. Don't name it. Don't rush to use it. Let it be. Now, if in that hush, a clear, unargued nudge rises, reply with one sentence. Delete. Take a sip of water and lie down. Make a call. Do it simply without storyline. If there is no nudge, do nothing humanly. Close the email without a word. Leave the notice where it lies. Let the symptom have no commentator. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still. First, seeing follows in its own hour. When you rise from that minute, refuse to look back for confirmation. No peeking at the inbox to see if silence earned you a favor. No counting of breaths to prove the ache obeyed. Take no thought for your life. Do you see? The moment you turn to measure, you put your hand back on the lever and the hose kinks again. Walk on. Fold the laundry. Wash the cup. Let maturity bring to light. If anxiety returns, repeat the drill without drama. Enter. Shut. Depersonalize. Nullify. Be still. Wait for the click. Act only if compelled. Otherwise, do nothing. Each time, let the inner assurance, small, reasonless, unadvertised, be sufficient evidence. Be not afraid. It is I. This is not stoicism, and it is not passivity. It is fidelity to principle in the live appearance. We are not result workers. We are witnesses. We never enter the case humanly. We never desire to change appearances. We stand where there are no sides, no second powers, no guilty parties to fix, only God being God. And then grace, spontaneous harmony does the work that our working could never do. Leave the outcome uninspected. Let God have its perfect work while you keep the door shut upon the mind that would help. In the heat, refuse to work the problem and watch without watching how often the problem dissolves for want of a worker. Now let us weave this quiet into the fabric of the day, because holiness is not a room nor an hour, and you are not to be ruled by a calendar to find God. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Do you hear the liberty in that? The Sabbath is presence, and it can meet you at the sink with the water running, in the stairwell between floors, at the red light where no one moves. The hour cometh, and now is, when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father, but in spirit and in truth. All right? Then let worship be this: anywhere, anytime, stillness. Brief, honest, and free of agenda. Build a rhythm simple, not heroic. 3 micro stops. Morning before any hand touches a device. Midday between tasks when the mind would most like to race. Evening before sleep, or at the threshold when you hang up your keys. At each stop do the same humble thing. Enter, shut, forget. When thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, enter, turn within without ceremony. Shut, lay down, persons, sides, outcomes. Forget, let go even of your finest truth. If you need a pointer, use only one once. Be still. Or if you must, I can of mine own self do nothing, and then let the sentence fall away like a leaf into water. No outcome prayer. No hint to God of what would please you. No spiritual bargaining. This is fasting. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. For half a minute, 2 at the most, be unoccupied and wait for the small click. If it comes, do not use it. Let it be. If it does not, let that be also. Rise and go on. Between these stops, practice the brief impersonalization that keeps you free of edges. A thought pricks, a tone stings, a headline shouts, say within once. This is a universal belief without law, one power only, and then be quiet. No argument, no moral lecture to the air, non-outcome prayer, brief impersonalization, and the single sentence, be still, this is how you keep Sabbath everywhere. Now, how shall you measure your day? Not by results. Don't keep a scoreboard of money found, symptoms eased, doors opened. Keep a record of non-reactions, not results. A little mark in the margin, held peace at the email, refused a side in the meeting, swallowed no bait at the dinner table. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Maturity is measured by composure. Pray without ceasing is not a marathon of words. It is the habit of stopping, the refusal to be drafted by appearances, the willingness to let God have its perfect work while you keep the door shut upon the mind that would help put the weight on rhythm, not brilliance. 3 small obediences every day, unadvertised. Let them be your Sabbath, scattered through the hours, and you will find, without strain, without checking the clock, that grace appears often, unforced, because you have made room for it to be what it is. Hold to that, keep still, let the day be stitched with these pauses, and watch, without watching, how peace becomes the native climate of the heart. All right, let us seal this as law, not as poetry. When effort stops, grace appears. Not sometimes. Law. Stop, then watch. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still first. Seeing follows in its hour. We have practiced the 2-minute stop. We have watched the click appear without our managing. Now I commission you to make the exchange permanent. Your effort surrendered for God's quiet grace. Refuse from this day to meddle with appearances. Refuse to take sides. Refuse to time God. Let there be in you a settled willingness to do the one thing needful, be still, and to live as one who trusts the unobtrusive action of spirit more than the instruments of the mind. Be not afraid, it is I. Hear the mantras, and let them be fence and freedom both. Never enter the case humanly. Don't react to appearances. Forget all the truth. Wait for the click. You see what that does? It removes from you the temptation to use God as tool to set up a second power to fight the first. There is no second power, one power only. The Lord our God is one Lord. Principle over personality always. Not the side of your friend, not the side of the one that hired you, not even the side that cries the louder. If spiritual harmony can only be achieved through an outcome you had not imagined, let's have it, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Put up the sword, put up the slogans, put up the timetable, hold your peace. Now, the exchange, lay down your tools at the threshold. The clever statements, the urgent prayers, the moral lectures you would like to give to the universe. This kind goeth not out but by prayer and fasting, the fasting from words, from will, from wanting God to be your instrument in their place. Receive assurance as substance. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The new economy is this. You deposit silence, you receive assurance. Assurance produces fruit in its season. You do not check the account every hour. You do not beg for interest. You let God have its perfect work. Let maturity bring to light. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Confidence, not in you, not in method, but in the invisible governance that needs no nudge. Go now as experimenters, not as authorities. Live it in little crucibles where you once hurried. The email with its sting, enter, shut, forget, wait for the click. The family scene with its hooks, take no side, depersonalize the claim, be still, The bodies murmur, refuse the second power, hold your peace. If a clear, unargued nudge rises, follow it simply. If none, do nothing humanly and walk on. Never enter the case humanly. Don't react to appearances. Forget all the truth. Wait for the click. Let these be the four corners of your tent. Pitch it anywhere, anytime. The hour cometh, and now is, in spirit and in truth. And measure not by outward change, but by the composure that remains when the bait is dangled. Keep a record of non-reactions, not results. Do you see the maturity in that? The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hold it in the street, in the boardroom, at the bedside. If the world asks, which side are you on? Answer within, I am allied with principle only, and be silent. If fear hisses, time is running out. Answer nothing. Wait for the click. If memory recites your favorite truths to busy the air, thank it and forget all the truth. Let silence be your only statement until presence speaks itself. I send you, then, not to win, not to fix, not to prove, but to witness. Let God be God without your counsel. Stand in one power. Walk the middle path that neither fears, loves, nor hates any appearance. Keep the door shut upon the mind that would help build the small rhythm and trust the great order. And when the hush arrives, even as light as a leaf settling, do not use it, let it be. From that letting, grace, spontaneous harmony appears on its own timing, again and again. Be not afraid. It is I. Now go and seal the law by living it. Stop, then watch, surrender, then rest, hold your peace, and let God have its perfect work.